dials, and they're trying to force dials down their team's throats. Those organizations that measure stuff like talk time. So when you don't have a system in place to actually measure what's going on, these things are happening across the board. It's a plague. It's infesting your team and you don't even know it.
Ghost dialing is rep-based. It's user error, and it's often nefarious. We're going to talk about one of the most nefarious causes of a poor connect rate. Ghost dialing. What's it all about? By the way, before we dive into this, I'm Ronan Pessar. With me is Ryan Reiser. Welcome to another edition of Outbound Fluff. No sales. This ghost dialing is the ultimate fluff that kills your sales. And we're going to get into what it is, what to do about it. And if you're a leader watching this and you think that this might be a problem, reach out to us. We could talk to you about how we could fix some of it. If you like the episode, hit subscribe. And as always, feel free to share comments below if you want us to cover other topics. So Ryan, super quick, what is ghost dialing?
It's an epidemic amongst your sales organization. So it's very interesting how many people don't really know that this is happening within their organizations, primarily those who are so focused on velocity, dials, and they're trying to force dials down their team's throats, but also those organizations that measure stuff like talk time. So when you don't have a system in place to actually measure what's going on with your call program, these things are happening across the board. It's like it's a plague. It's infesting your team and you don't even know it. And you're out there trying to solve a problem that you probably don't actually have at the same level or degree that you think you have. So what is ghost dialing? Ghost dialing is what reps are doing to act as if they're executing calls to a prospect, but they're not actually doing it. Ryan, what do you mean? Okay, so dialers, all the dialers that you're working with today will count a dial as soon as someone hits click, right? It doesn't matter if that dial actually rings through all the way through to what you're after, right? When you're making calls, Buckets 101, you want to actually call through to a voicemail. And if you can't get to a working voicemail, you probably shouldn't call the number anymore. But reps are making calls and hanging up 2-3 dials into an attempt. That's a quick one to identify for those activity hounds that you have on your team that are just trying to make it look like they're hitting their dial number. If you have a system in place in the right way, you can identify these by just looking at the little 00 at the end of your report. If you have this in your analytics where every single call is at 00, like you're not hearing the voicemail, the voicemail is going to start recording and you would be able to see it, right? So they're not calling through to voicemails. They're making letting it ring 2 or 3 times and hanging up and moving on to the next one. So you have to ring all the way through to a voicemail. And this is killing your gains. And I'll talk about why in a minute here. The second way that people are ghost dialing is they are not calling through. They might be getting through to office lines and they're not navigating dial trees. These are really important numbers to navigate, but they're like, oh, it's a dial tree, just hang up, instead of actually going through and making sure that they can get through again to the person or their voicemail. The last one, which will blow your fucking mind, is they're actually calling, people are picking up and they're hanging up on the freaking prospect.
I've seen it. I actually caught a rep doing it red-handed. At first I thought it was a weird issue, but I was listening back to some of the call recordings and I was like, this is a weird one. It looks like it was actually picked up. And I listened to the recording and the person goes, hello, click.
Yep.
That is like the worst case scenario in terms of like the rep is doing it intentionally. There is also a version of this, and I want to clarify this. There's also I'll call it the like uneducated, unintentional, but still bad version of this, where I call this Ryan's like, you're too nice. It's the user error, which is the rep's not thinking.
It's weaponized incompetence.
Sure, or weaponized. Hey, that's my term. It's weaponized.
I know it's your term.
Weaponized incompetence. For using your lack of knowledge as a weapon. Yeah. But if the person never hears or knows the one time at least of like, hey, call through until you hear the voice message recording begin. Hi, you've reached so-and-so. Or like, this is a recording, please. If they've never heard that, they might think it's more efficient for them to go 3-4 dials and then go to the next one and then go to the next one to try to get more activity going, even if their intention is not just to stuff the stats on the dials.
That's their intention.
Ryan is this is the difference between Ryan and I. Give people benefit of the doubt, and Ryan is just like, I've so jaded. He's like, I've lived through it all. People are all terrible.
If you're going to make a call, the point is to dial and see if you can get the person. Why would you give up until you see if you can get them on the phone?
I agree
The
with you.
last one,
I agree with
the,
you.
the,
That's
the,
logical. That makes sense.
this is happening across the board. The last one, by the way, is when they've identified a number that they know is probably not worth calling and they keep calling it. So
Oh yeah.
that's the number
Like
one.
you can see
So
the title or company like, why is this even on the list? I shouldn't even call this person. It's not a fit. And they're like, I'm going to call anyway.
yep,
And
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to
call it
keep
anyway.
following up and keep following up.
Disconnected numbers, fax tones, they'll do it, by the way. They'll do it. Now, the last thing, so that's the dial velocity version of it. Now there's the talk time version of it, which you can identify. This is the opposite where reps will ghost dial. And now you're trying to figure out talk time. And so what reps will do is they're going to go and call those IVRs or
Yeah.
call where they're getting long transfers where
Like
they
4 or
know
5 minute
where
transfers.
they know there's operators and they're transferring and they're letting the line go. I've literally been in a analytics where I've seen these like 20-30 minute calls and you go and click in and listen to it and it's literally just a recording on loop, right? And you can hear the person like playing a video game in the background. It's insane.
Oh my
Again, if
God.
you're not, this sounds crazy, but leaders are like, yeah, I mean, because that's going to kick up your average talk time. They don't inspect every single dial. They don't look at
Right.
these things. And they're like, oh, yeah, if there's a 30-minute recording every once in a while, now you got your average talk time up to that 2 minute number. And they're like, oh, yeah, the average talk time's there. So
Now,
that's average talk time. And now you
yeah.
look at connects being a function of talk time, which is not driven by a disposition. Massive problem for organizations. I see a lot of people counting connects based on talk time that's registered from a dialer. And again, I can go through a dial tree, I can go through operator transfers and get connects. And they're like, I don't have a connect rate problem. We get lots of connects. Look at my connects. What's a connect line for you? So we look at, anything over a 2 minute talk time. That's a connect. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I love that guy. Okay. So these are all variations of ghost styling. And this is happening. It's epidemic. It's plaguing your organization. It's wild. Now, the impact of the high velocity ghost styling has downstream replicate what's the right word? Ramifications. Because what you're doing when you're ghost styling is you're now putting your numbers at risk. When your number
Yeah.
gets flagged, now the
Yeah.
reputation of that number, even if you have monitoring on it, is now lowered. The attestation
Yes.
is lowered, and
Yes.
your entire reputation for that number is shot. And now, even if you stopped the ghost styling,
You're still going to have
you're
bad
still
caller
gonna have
IDs.
bad
Yeah.
caller IDs, call deliverability goes through the tank. You don't want the velocity of the number to go through. So for all these reasons, it's a massive problem. And the solution to this is to make sure that you actually have a system in place that can monitor these things. The number one thing you want to do immediately is to ensure that if you have a call team, that the cold calling, the first list attempts up until the initial conversation, all of that should be greenfield, a pool of data that everybody in the organization can call from so that you can measure and immediately identify if an individual rep is doing some of these things. Because
Mm.
if there's a difference between Ronan's connect rate and my connect rate when we're calling from the same pool of data,
You know something's off.
I can
Yeah.
go in right away and take a look at it. So that's the number one solution is all the territory at the top should be assigned in a pool. The second thing you want to do is make sure that you actually have a system to track the disposition or call result associated with the outcomes of conversations or not, versus letting the dialer dictate the
Mm.
analytics. All of you out there using Orums and the Nookses and the outreaches and all this other world, you are measuring more often than not off of insight. Even FrontSpin does this. We use FrontSpin as a dialer, but their connects are literally, there's a way you can program it based on talk time. That's one of their settings, and people will do that out of the box. That's not the way to do it. What you need to do is measure based on specific call results. And we have standardized call results in our world that actually allow you to run the completions framework that allows you to now differentiate, was this a connect or not? If it was a connect, was it a completion or not? Yada, yada, yada. The last thing you want to do is ensure that you have a dashboard to monitor these things, make it easy to segment by team and region and yada, yada, yada. And then finally, activity report that allows you to go spot these things quickly. That activity report should have the actual clock on when that counter starts to easily monitor and go after this. But what happens is, number one, you're not getting the results you need. That's the number one problem. Like obviously you pay a rep to go sell. Most of these reps are getting a salary. This is fiefdom. It's just bullshit.
I mean, it's theft.
But the
It's
second,
essentially, yeah.
it's not just the rep though. Then you have leaders going in to try to solve these problems, and you're
Yeah.
wasting countless hours solving a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You're looking at new data vendors, you're looking at new dialers, you're looking at all of these things to try to make it easier for your reps to get into more conversations, but it's just the ghost dialing that's plaguing your organization. So
And it is also worth mentioning that if you're only looking at the connect rate and the reps, like in our system, reps call evenly distributed across the same list with the same tools. So everything should be equal in terms of their connect rates over long periods of time. So if you see dramatic differences, like I have seen with one of our clients, that means you need to go look at the rep that has the lower connect rate and see what's going on. There can be technical issues too
yeah,
if you're
there
using
there
an internet-based dialer, which is the speed of your internet, the speed of your computer bandwidth, and if you're eating up bandwidth by keeping like 30 tabs open and dialing, you could actually be losing more potential connects literally because your computer can't keep up with the pace that it has to, like most people using software-based dialers, not actual phones.
yeah,
So that's
there is
another
that's a
like
technical issue for
that's a
sure.
non-human version of it, but
Also
we could save that
regionally,
for another episode of like how to diagnose connect rate issues and like what the different paths are. But this was ghost dialing is rep based, it's user error, and it's often nefarious. I will wrap this all up by saying this is another good reason why when you're talking about goals for reps, you want to talk about completed conversations and not fixate on number of dials made. Number of dials is just a proxy. It's just supposed to represent if you're trying to give yourself a daily activity goal that is not based on the completed conversation, then you can base it off your conversion rate of about how many conversations to connects to completed conversations do I need to have. But the ultimate goal is how many people did I reach that heard the pitch that I put on the list? If I'm getting 20 of those a day for our reps, for example, that's usually a great day. I want to be able to get like 20 completed, 15 to 20 completed conversations a day to be in a really healthy zone. Stay tuned for more of these. As always, if you want to have us cover other topics, drop it in the comment section below. We'd love to cover topics that you guys ask about or questions that you have. Every 10 or so episodes, we'll do a Q&A anyway. So we'll go find like top questions asked like we did after the first 10 episodes. As always, I'm Ronan Passar. With me is Ryan Reiser. We're both wearing black t-shirts today because we're the Outbound operators. And this is our podcast, Outbound Fluff, No Sales. Stay tuned for the next one.